Hello, 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 Crafty Chris here, coming to you for another Thursday night Scrap Your Scraps. I want to say thank you to everybody who gave me feedback in the Facebook groups with regard to the kinds of things that they would like me to work on to help them move through that extra paper stash that they have left over at the end of all their crafting. One of the things that was heavily requested was working again more with those pieces of scrap paper. So today we're going to do a mandala. I'm going to walk you through my thinking process as to how I figure out mandalas, and then talk to you a little bit about how we are going to lay those mandalas out on a one-page layout, or it could be a two-page. I just do one because it's a little bit easier to fit into an hour, and a card. So how the technique I'm going to show you and the way to build this I'm going to show you is going to work for you in multiple ways. So a mandala is generally something that is circular. Okay, so you can have a mandala that is made out of something that is all the same color, whether it be red, or all blue, or all black, or all gray, or you can have multicolored mandalas. One of the things I would like to try as a group is to work on a multicolored mandala. So to do that, I want to make sure that I have my layers. So I don't go into any detail as I'm about to build it, because I still have to make the materials I'm going to use, and that I'll talk to you about in a few minutes. But I want to know what materials to collect. So generally speaking, a mandala has like an outer layer, which is one color, and then they'll have an inner layer that could be a different color, and then they'll have another layer that can be a different color, and you can have as many layers of color as you like, but you just need to sort of get to the point where you know what you're going to now pick out of your paper supplies. So with this mandala, I think I would like to have red sort of in the outer layer, and maybe some purple. And the purple doesn't have to be completely all in one layer. I can have it poking through the red layer if I like, and I'll give you more of an explanation as to how to do that when we go to make the pieces. I want to move from red to purple to maybe some turquoise or some teal. Let's say teal because it's a shorter word. And then I want to go in and do maybe an orange layer. And I'm just writing this down for my own purposes. And then perhaps a red layer. And then in here, I want to have a yellow and a green poking through. So this section is going to have yellow and green moving towards it. And then right in the center, I don't know yet, I'm going to put a question mark, because right in that center, it has to be something that kind of anchors everything else that's going on. So we'll see how that works out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull a 12 by 12 piece of white cardstock to start, because that's how I always start. And it's the back of a product, so I'm not using my own super duper paper for this. And now I'm going to start to figure out, okay, do I want my mandala to be this big or just come out of the corner? I think for purposes of practicing, I think we're going to kind of have our mandala be a one-sided mandala on the page. Do I want to do that? I'm thinking. No, we're going to go for it. We're going to do this big, crazy, large mandala right here, covering the whole page, because then we can put our picture layouts and some flowers and other things on there as and some words as accents for it. So let's work with our colors. So I've said red, purple, teal, orange, red. I might pull in some and green and yellow, and I might even pull in some pink there and maybe some blue. I don't know. So I'm going to pull out my big trusty containers. You're going to need large strips. You have seen these containers before. Now I have 3 of them. I used to have 2, but now I have 3. I've been crafting a lot lately, so I have lots of these containers. This one is full of large scraps, primary scraps, and pink and multi scraps. That's one. And then I have one that has secondary scraps, secondary colors, and beige. So that would be your green, your purple, and your pink, probably pinks, and they're not secondary colors, but pinks and oranges. And then I have this one, which I've just recently devised, and this has my grays, my turquoise, my black and white scraps. So I'm not using black and white, but I am, or gray, but I am going to use some of the teal. So I'm going to pull out my teal container of scraps. So I'm going to do that. So first of all, let me pull in. I'm going to use plain paper for this, I think, for the first one. And then I'll, as I practice this strategy on other pages, I might pull in patterns. But let's stick with the plain pattern paper. I want to get a piece that's nice and long that I can join together and make sort of like a tube out of. And this is going to take a little bit of practice, kind of rolling it on the edge of your desk or whatever to round it out a little bit so that you can actually get it into a tube size. And I'll show you how to stick it together and what to do with it after we've kind of done that. So I like that turquoise, but that turquoise, I don't know if that'll make me enough. So it's always best to have 2 nice long strips of the same turquoise, because you don't want it to change while you're in the middle of your project. So having said that, I don't have enough of this. So what is that? That's 2-3 inches. So you're going to want at least something you can cut into 3-inch strips. And you want a color that you kind of like. So I am going to use that for my turquoise, and it is 12 inches, which is great. So we are using up your larger, longer pieces. So turquoise is picked. Now, where did I put my container so I can put that away? And I'm going to put it, I'm just going to put it to the side. I'm not actually going to put it all the way away because I may need to pull out something to fill in if I'm short and I haven't covered the whole page. So then in my primary colors, so that's your red, your yellow, and your blue. We're going to pull out, and I'm going to pull out some pink as well. So let's start with the pink first, and we're going to do some hot pink because that has a tendency to show up better when you're looking at the edge, because you won't be looking at the flat paper. So that's a nice color combination. I think we'll stick with that. Try to get these very clean colors as opposed to, you know, putting in a peachy pink with a pinky pink. So here we go. And this is my red. And I want something that's nice and sort of a Christmas red if I can find it. I probably can't. I don't want to go too dark, because if I go too dark, so something like that, but I don't have enough of that. And I have this, whoops, I have the burgundy color, but you know, this, I have a lot of this, but that's not really the red well, okay, maybe I'll do that, excuse me, plus something else. So I think I'm going to do this, and then I'll move into this a little later on. So I'm going to take those colors out, and then the next color I'm going to work on is blue, plain blue. Now, I'm going to take two blues out, because I can probably put blue in a couple of times. So we got nice contrast there. And then I'm going to take some yellow. And I think I'm going to do two yellows as well. I don't know if I'll use them, but I'm going to bring them out just in case. So I got a nice bright vivid yellow, and something that's a little more, that's not really much of a contrast, is it? Excuse me. I think I might, don't have a lot of yellow. How's that for contrast? Not much. Okay. I think I'll use that yellow. We'll see how it goes. So now I have to reposition all those back into their container. Again, I'm not going to move the container anywhere. I'm just going to close it up, so if I have to go back to it, I can grab it quite easily. Again, you're seeing this technique as I create it. It's based on something called quilling, but we're not doing the whole quilling thing. We're just doing the outer edge of it. Okay, so we have this really vivid green, which is kind of cool, and I think I'm going to go for a regular sort of Christmassy green. And got my oranges. So again, I like a kind of golden orange, and then just in case I need it, I'll have some vivid orange. And then this has beige, and that has brown, and I need to get some purple. Whoops. Pull out my purples. Don't have a lot of purple. I like this purple. That's too close to that, I think. And then we'll get the light purple as well, so we have a good contrast there. So if you're going to use the same color twice, you know, in two different parts of your mandala, you want to make sure that you are picking contrasting shades so that they show up differently. They're not the same in two different parts of your project. Okay, so now I said 3 inches, so let's get a chopper and we're going to do some chopping. So this piece, I'm going to take 3 inches. I should do 3, no, we'll do 3 inches. 3 inches makes it a little bit tighter, so I'm just chopping 3 inches off my pages. The reason I'm sticking with a particular size is they all have to end up, when they're folded together and rounded into tubes, when I cut them, they all have to have the same size so I can sort of create the mandala. And I'm going to create the mandala by pinching the cuts of the tube that I make. So let me just take this off of here. And we're going to cut this down to 3. And that ends up being 3 anyway. So this is where I will just go through really quickly and speed up the film so that you don't have to watch me do all the cutting on everything at real time. We want to get them into little tubes. So, as I said before, using your desk or the edge of your desk, you're just going to help yourself by rolling it along the edge of your desk. If you have a sharp edge, I don't happen to have a sharp edge, so my rolling is easy to do. Let's get you out of the way there. My rolling is much easier to do because I have an edge of my desk that is round. But if you have a square edge like this, you can do the same thing. You just don't want to push down. You're just going to drag it over, drag it over, drag it over, and then flip it around and do the same thing again. Drag it over, drag it over, drag it over. You're going to need double-sided tape for this. I would use the thinnest tape possible because you want to have enough of the tube left to use. So I get I think this is 1/8 of an inch. And I'm going to put my 1/8 of an inch along the inside of the curve. Now I've not done this before, so it's all a mystery. So I'm just running this right up. And the reason I'm suggesting that I'm using this double-sided tape is because glue takes a while to dry. You can't really hold it in a proper position. And what we're technically going to do is we are going to roll this and stick it along that edge. So you really want to roll this up. Doesn't matter if it gets a little crinkled because you're only going to see the side anyway. You're not going to see the flat surface. So you won't see these wrinkles that I'm creating here because I'm going to be looking at it this way. Alright, so now you want to try to make sure that you only go over the amount that you have in the tape. And this is going to be tricky. So you just want to start one end. Actually, I probably shouldn't have pulled that all off. I should have just pulled a little bit at a time because I have a feeling I'm going to get all stuck. So I'm just looking at it, eyeballing the edge, looking at it, eyeballing the edge in the center. Okay. Trying to get it to be as little a crossover as I can. If I were to do this as a regular project, I think I would make some sort of an actual dowel or something the size I need to make my tubes. But because I'm not even sure if I'm ever going to do this again, I just want to get it done quickly. So now you're just going to run your finger down and make sure that that sticks as much as possible to the paper. You're going to hear a lot of creaking and cracking. Okay. And there we go. So now we're stuck and we have our tube. And you're going to do that to all of your tubes. Okay, so as I moved along, I got much better at making my circles. So really, it's just a matter of practice. And you just want to make sure that you're lining them as closely as possible. So the next step for doing this, and I'm going to start with the pink because I want to figure out how much of each thing I want. So I am going to cut 1/8" strips off of this. So technically I need to sort of flatten it out a little bit because it's going to go into my guillotine, and I am going to cut 1/8" strips. And of course I am not working with a guillotine that is friendly with 1/8", so I'm going to switch that out and see if this one's a better one. Nope. Okay, back to my old strip cutter here. Okay, so this one shows me I'll bring it up to the camera so you can see it. I can see an 1/8". Every second one is an 1/8". So I'm able to get that 1/8" cut. Now you're going to have to go a little slower with this kind of cutter because it is going through 2 pieces of paper. Okay, so here is my first piece. All right, and I can just play with it a little to make it circular or whatever circle I want. Now I want to use this guy in the center of my my actual build. So I'm actually going to use glue to roll this into a little center point. I'm not going to build on my paper because it can get quite messy, so I am going to build on my table here or here. So I'm just taking what used to be my circle, okay, it used to be a part of this, and I trimmed it at 1/8 inch, and I'm going to keep all my cuts at 1/8 inch. Now I'm just going to twist it a little bit and try to roll that into a tight little ball, and the more you twist it and turn it, the easier it is. And if you have the tools for quilling, you can use those as well. I am not using the tools. I am just going to use my fingers, and then I'm just going to wrap it around, and any kind of clear drying glue. I'm going to put a little bit on the end there, not too much, and I'm just going to push it and hold it for a second on my little turned center. Okay, so there is my little turned center. It's very, very, very tiny. So I just took that smidge that I pulled off, and I just took that little, I'll do it again because I'm going to use it I think later on anyway. Get into my 1/8" cut, flatten it out. I'm going to go up against the cutting surface because I want to make sure that I get a good 1/8 inch. Just make that a little flatter. Okay, there we go. So there is my piece. The adhesive has come apart, but I can put that back on there. There we go. So there's my circle, my piece that I just cut off of my tube that doesn't look very circular. Okay. Again, I'm going to take this piece now, and I am just going to simply use my thumb to curl it a little bit, and then just start to curl it under, and use my nail and my finger to roll it. And then once I get a bit of a roll, I can put it between my fingers and then I can start to wrap it. Okay, and then near the end I'm going to put some glue, clear glue please, and just hold it for a minute. Oh, too much glue, don't want that much, and just hold it for a minute. Okay, try not to stick it to your finger, and there you have your little circular, can't really get a good focus, there you go, your little circular piece. This is the one I created before that one. Okay, so that's going to be the center. Now everything I do is going to come off this center, so it's going to be glued to this and off the center. Now the next round of color I really think I want to use is the green, and I'm going to need I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 1/8-inch pieces. Okay, so again I'm going to put it into my cutter and I'm going to cut 8 8-inch pieces. So okay, so there's my 8 pieces. Just move this to the side. So now what I'm going to do is just fold this whole thing in half. There we go. Now I'm going to open these guys up just by pushing on them. Okay, and we can round them a little bit if they're too square. And I'm going to glue a little bit in where the 2 pieces are going to stick together. So where they are halved, I am going to stick a little bit of glue in there. Okay, make sure that it goes right in, so I might need to use a pencil or something to push it right down in there. Okay, hold it just for a minute, and then we're going to open up. I'm going to use my little thing so I don't get pencil on it. I'm going to open it up on either side and round it out a little bit. Okay, so it looks like that, and then I'm going to put a bit of glue, which I happen to have just sitting waiting for me, and I'm going to put it on the edge of my circle. Now as these things get glued on you can play with them more, but for now this is what we have. Okay, so let me bring that up to you so you can see it. Alrighty, so I'll show you again, and we have 8, so we're going to have, how we're going to attack it is we're going to put one here, one here, one there, one in between there, one in between there. So we're going to half this up as we go. So finding the seam, which is down here in the bottom, pushing these together and folding them where that seam is in half. Okay, it's okay if it's a little bit bigger, it's not perfect. Then we're going to open it slightly. So we're opening that a little bit so I can get some glue in there. Okay, don't even need that much glue. And then I'm going to close it shut. So now there's the piece, closing it shut so that it sticks together. Then I'm going to open the wings so it doesn't dry glued together. Push on them a little bit. There we go. Okay, so now I have this piece. I'm going to take a little bit of glue and put it on the other side of the piece and hold it together. Okay, so now we have it more or less equal here and there. Now this is where I'm actually putting the whole piece together, dividing it in half as I go each time I put a new piece on, and eventually you start to see a flower shape forming, and it becomes more balanced as well. And the last couple of pieces are a little bit trickier because you got to squish them down in between the pre-existing pieces that are there. Okay, just give it a minute to dry. Now, on the back side, I'm just going to put a dollop of glue, take my little thing and just spread it on the back side. And that's more or less to just make sure that those pieces are all glued in together. So I'm going to dry that with my heat gun. And I'm not doing it thick, just did a very thin coating. Excuse me, my allergies are very, very, very heavy today. And you'll know when it's dry because being that it is clear glue, it will end up clear and you won't see it. And I just want to make sure I haven't overdone it here. A little too much glue. All right. Okay. So now we're just going to let that, and you don't see that glue on this side. You see where we glued, but you don't see the actual glue. So now this has been cured enough for me to hold it, and I'm just going to go around and I'm going to play with opening up my diamonds, or my petals, I guess, for lack of a better word. I just want to make sure that they all have a little bit of the same shape. And that the whole space that they're existing in is opened and even. Okay. Alrighty, and as we build, it will end up being even anyway, because we'll be poking things inside things. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is put a little bit of purple around there, and I want my purple to just sit as a ring around this. So I know that this ring is going to be too small, but I'm going to double it up and have it go around that center. So I'm going to try figuring out, I probably need 4 1/4-inch pieces of the purple, or 1/8 inch pieces of the purple, because we're doing everything in 1/8 of an inch. So we're doing 1. I'm going to do 3 to start, but I know for a fact 2 will not be enough. So let's try with 3. Now, I am going to put a little bit of glue inside because I don't want this to flop around too much. And you have to make sure you have your glue down at the bottom. There you go. and just stick your finger in there. You don't want the glue to be so thick that it's coming out and sticking everywhere. And the nice thing about this glue is that it pills up quickly. So if I get it on my fingers, I can just rub it off my fingers. It dries and it gets all crusty, and you can just take that off your fingers like white glue when you were a kid. Alright, so there's one piece, and I've got a little messiness happening. So if you look at my, see, I've got a bit of messiness happening, so I'm just going to trim that off because I do not want these to be messy. I want them to be clean. And then I'm just going to simply add one on top of the other. Actually, you know what? I think I'm going to trim one edge of here so it will slip over that one, just maybe by 1/8 of an inch. So this is one I have not glued. I'm going to trim that corner there. So I'm now in a V shape. Put a little bit of glue on the inside, not a lot. There we go. All right. And whoops, I forgot to leave that end open, because that end I actually want to go over the other end. Now I've glued it. There we go. Opened it up. So now I have an opening here at this one end because I didn't glue the open side. Okay. Too much glue. Take some of that off. You want glue on both sides. And you're just going to do like an 1/8 of an inch. So the thickness of what the strip is. And you're just going to stick that over top of the other piece. So now you have a longer piece. You're going to make sure it's flat because the whole thing has to sit flat. You can't have it crooked. If it's crooked, you'll run into trouble. Okay. Now that'll get us about halfway around, so I will need one more of those. Since I have it in my hand, I'm going to trim that edge, open it up on that edge. I'm going to put a little bit of glue all the way up to just near the edge, but not on the edge, although I just did that anyway. So, and I just have to remember not to seal the edge. Okay, so a little bit of glue there, but I'm not going to seal that far. So I'm going to take it, just leave it open like that. Okay, and where it's open here, I am going to stick that 1/8 of an inch into this other paper. There we go. Make sure it's flat so they're all sitting the same height. There we go. And we're building our paper. It's going to go around the outside of this. So again, snipping the edge, so now I have it open. A little bit of glue down the whole side on this side. And spread that out nicely so it doesn't leak. And then on this side, I just need a little at the top. And I'm just going to squish this together, but keep the ends apart. Okay. There we go. And then this is going to go on there. About 1/8 of an inch. There we go. Make sure it sticks first of all, and that it's the same height. And Just going to give it another good crunch. There we go. All right, so now take anything that's round and you're going to just sort of give it a little bit of a twist around it so that you end up with something that looks round as opposed to flat. In any places where it looks like it's folded, you want to round those out. Okay, so you get something that looks like this. And now we're going to figure out how to stick these two pieces together and open up the branches. So, putting your cutter away for a minute, this is going to take some focus. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to attach these ends together and butt them up. We're not going to cross over, we're going to butt them up. And the reason I'm doing that is because I've just told you to do 1/8 of an inch each time you attach one piece to the other, and I should have been telling you 1/16 of an inch, not 1/8, because now we have no extra space. Oh, you know what? I just thought of something. Once I get this over top of here, I can actually glue it to the green. There we go. And if I glue it to one of the green edges, that will give it something to hang on to. So there's my spot that I'm gluing the two pieces together. One goes there, and one goes there. There we go. And I'll show you this in close-up in a moment. As soon as it's solidified, all right, so it is, one is on one side of the green and the other is on the other side of the green. So now it has something to stick to. And just to make sure that that is all sticking together nicely, I am just going to put a dab of glue at the back. And the next work, evening out everything, we're going to put dabs of glue to hold it to the paper. So this one needs to squish a little more. These guys need to squish a little more. Oh, not too much more, because when you do that, you break your seal. But that's okay. I can put my seal back. There we go. And just hold it for a minute. It's not rocket science, but it does take some time to get things to glue together. And see, this is now preventing me because it's got stuck there. And I don't want it stuck there. Okay, let's go back. There we go. I want it stuck on the other piece, which is this one. There we go. That's where I want it. Sorry, I got my head in the way there. Yep, we're having some problems. I could just start all over and do 4 more, but I'll not show you what happens when things mess up. There Just needed some more glue. So I think I'm just going to have to somehow hold it. So that it stays pushed on. This is the back side, so I'm not as concerned as if I was working from the front side. There we go. You add it there. Clean up the little gluey bits. Okay, so now we're going to let that dry for a minute. We're going to move to the next section. So in the next section, I want to do yellow and orange kind of petally things. So I'm going to cut quarter-inch, let's see, how many? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. So I'm going to double, because we're getting larger, I need to double my size, or my number. So I'm going to do 6, what did I say? 16, 2, 4, yeah, 16. So 1, so now I'm going to get some yellow, because I'm going to use these as individual elements that are going to come off, but I want to have some yellow on the inside of that to fill in that empty space a bit. So I'm going to take, I think I'm going to take the bright yellow, so it shows up a little bit more, and I'm going to show you, I'm going to show you how to do 1 or 2, and then I'll go off and finish them so you don't have to sit and watch me. So for every one of these, I'm going to have 2 yellow pieces cut. So there's 1, 2, and I'll do 4 so I can show you how to get them inside. And like I said, this is exactly like quilling, except you're not using quilling materials and quilling papers. Would it be easier to do it with quilling stuff? Sure. But then you'd have to learn how to use all that equipment. And this, I figure, at least is just something that we can do with our hands. So I have 2 of these guys to fit into 1 of these guys. Now, I'm just going to try and make this a little bit more round. That's the nice thing about paper, is that you can do that. And there's my seam. So that's where I'm actually going to do my fold from top to bottom, because it's going to end up being sort of a leaf shape, and everything is going to get attached to that fold in the bottom. Now with these guys, I'm going to try to manipulate them a little bit into a shape that will fit inside. We'll see how this works. And it doesn't really matter what the shape looks like, as long as I can fill up the space inside the leaf shape. So I'm just kind of messing around with it so that these guys open up a little bit, and it doesn't look very leafy at the moment but once I get everything all glued in place, that just fills up that spot a little bit more. And I could even fill it up even more by doubling up what I put in there. But for now, I think that'll be good just to fill it up. So the first thing we're going to do is remember where our seam is. And on, I have like a more closed end and an open end. And that's going to be dependent on how I play this out. Sorry, my glue's stuck. There we go. So I'm going to stick this into the end that has I'm just going to open these guys up a little bit. Okay, and push that right into the end so you can see a little bit of what I've done there. Okay, and now I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Whoop. A little bit of glue. Put that in there. Don't mess around with me. And put that in the top end. These guys are going to go more in the center. The top end. Okay. And I'll open them up a little bit. Maybe I'll put that guy there. There we go. So, there you go. That just fills it in a tiny little bit. I can open these guys up a little bit more, open that guy up a little bit more, play around with it until I get it looking the way I want it. And it just fills it in just a little bit. So, let me go through that one more time. Find out where your seam is. Okay, and we're going to fold it flat so we know the top and the bottom. Then we're just going to take a moment to kind of round it out a little. Go inside and just kind of round it out a little. You don't want too rigid a flat. Okay, so there we go. We got our leaf shape. We're going to take two of these guys and fold them in half. I don't care where the seam is necessarily. I'm going to stick a little bit of glue on the bottom here. Push that right into one end of the leaf. Okay. Maybe I should bring it down just a little bit more. There we go. And then I'm going to take the other one, fold it in half, put glue on this end, and push it into the corner here. Okay, just give it a minute to sit. Whoop. And then I'm going to open up these little flower bits. Gonna slip that one in there. Open them right up. And then slim down everything. There we go. Just play around with that a little. There we go. And so now we have our two leaves with a little bit of yellow on the inside. And so maybe I can show you what that looks like. There we go. Okay, and when we put this all together, things are going to get compressed, and you're going to have to play around a little bit like we did here to sort of even everything out so it sits sort of even. Okay, so I'll be back. I'm going to do these 16, and then we're going to attach everything onto our outer edge. Okay, just to reiterate what we're doing here. So I've got these stuck in, but once they're glued down, you can just move them around and you know, put them wherever you want to put them. So I've kind of got all mine with an outside, an inside, an inside, and an outside. So basically I've interwoven them, and all you do is just pull at the top to open up the top edge, and you pull as much as you want, as little as you want. If it's too thin, then you go back and you open it up a little bit more. This one I like to be a little more open, and then you kind of just squish it back into its shape, and it falls back into shape. So again, here I need to pop this guy over. Whoops! So I've got him in the place I want him in there, but this guy I'm just going to pop over. There we go. And again, I stick my whatever I'm using to open things up in there, and I open up the little petals on the inside. Now I haven't glued everything. I didn't glue the inside of these pieces together, and you don't need to glue everything, because once it's contained by that outer shell, it won't go anywhere, and then the whole thing gets glued down to your page as well. So there are my little leaves to continue to move on. And see, this one I can open up a little bit more. There we go. So I can play with these as much as I want to get them in the shape I want to see. And you want to make sure that you're doing your gluing so that they stay nice and sturdy. And I'm going to move this around a little bit because that's kind of crowded over there. Kind of crowded. There we go. Just to give them a little bit more space to breathe. There we go. So now I'm basically going to attach them between each of the petals, more or less, but I just want to do my opposite edges again on this, and it should fill up perfectly. So I'm just going to take some glue and I'm going to put a dot there, not a lot, just a little bit of dot there, and then across I'm going to put a dot there. So that's going to start me off. So there's one, and there's two. Now I want to make sure that it's going to move in a circular pattern. So I always make sure that I have this on the same side, but if you've done it, you know, with this being on the outside, that being on the inside, then the other side is going to be the same way, so you don't really have to think about it much. But if you've done something different with your pattern, then you just want to make sure it kind of all flows in a circular motion. I knew I was going to double up on these, so this gets nice and compacted as I add my lines of petals in there. So I knew that this was going to be crunched down and tight. But at this point, if you chose to do something a little different and created a whole different sort of placeholder, so you know, maybe you did a couple of these double-sized, you could spread the pattern out even more. But I kind of liked congested patterns. Now these are open quite a bit, so as I start to stick them in, it's going to shift things. So before I do that, I want to loosen this up a little bit. Make sure everything's attached fairly firmly. And I'm going to flip this over and just put a little bit of glue here to give it some stability like we did the last time. Just a little bit of glue on each of these to give it a little bit more stability. And you're not going to see this on the front side because it's clear. And I just take my little mat, flatten that out a little bit because we don't want anything to be taking away the flat surface. There we go. And you can tell by touching it. All right, there we go. So now I'm going to insert these guys. So we're going to start to compress these in a longer, leaner way. I could leave them wider like that, and if I wanted to reduce the amount of extra stuff I had to do out here, because every layer you go up, you have to double it. So here we started with 1, and then we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 of these little folded guys, and now this is 16 around the outside. So I could potentially just work with half of what I've created, but I like it to be full. And I prefer to push things in and make them skinny and adjust them. There we go. And I think that that allows the inside to get compressed a little more. So we're almost good here. Whoops, too much glue. You do not want too much glue. Too much is too much. So this guy's going to squeeze in there. All right, so you can see how our mandala is coming together. Now I have a couple of choices from here. Let me just get these guys in. I'm not going to worry that they're odd and even, odd and even. Some of them are a little wider than others. I'm not going to concern myself with that right now. Just wait for everything to dry. There we go. Alrighty. And we'll spread these out a little better after the fact. And we'll also put some adhesive on the back to keep it steady. So do you see how our mandala is building? So now I want to open up my mandala a little bit. I've changed my mind in terms of how I'm going to do that. So I want to take my purple, my dark purple that I've sealed together, and I'm just going to open it up. And I'm not going to worry if it kind of goes yucky and gets all scraped, because I'm not going to see that. I'm not worried about what happens on the side. I'm worried what happens at the top edge. So I'm going to open this up now, and I am going to roll it into a much bigger circle, because I want to have, for every 2, I want to have a big loop, and I'm just trying to eyeball that. So these were 3 inches. I think I'm going to make this one 5 inches. So I've opened up my circle. So now my circle is open, and I'm going to take my cutter. Let me lift up a bit, open up the screen a bit so you can see what's going on. I'm going to take my cutter and I'm going to cut this at 5. Take the flattest edge so I don't make a mistake. I'm going to cut this at 5, and I may cut another one at 5, so I'm just going to leave that to the side for now. And now I am going to glue those together into a tube. So go back, get my, okay, just got to find my tape now because I've been moving things around a fair bit. Oh, there it is. Get my 1/8 inch tape again. This time I'm going to put it along this edge. So I'm putting it along the short edge rather than the long edge, pulling it apart, taking off. I have no nails. I trimmed my nails down. There we go. Okay, and now I'm just going to simply attach those two pieces together. As straight as I can. There we go. There we go. Here's my tube created. And now I have the opportunity for larger pieces. This one, yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to trim this down, but I'm going to do every second one. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I need 8 strips of this tube. Get my cutter. Same height as the others. 1. 8 little bits right there. Put my cutter down. So technically speaking, these are going to fit in every other opening. So I'm going to have this there, that there. Oh, that's got a little extra something, something. That there. And I have to sort these before I attach these. Okay. Whoop, can't get this one open. That there. And this is going to bring and open up my piece. Now, in here, I am going to have something in order to keep everything all aligned and sitting together. So I'm going to devise a scrolly thing for inside there to keep those open. And then in this space, I'm going to create another row of something. So there's going to be 2 pieces coming from here and going out there. Okay, so in the meantime, let's shift this guy upside down, make sure I have no glue there, and I just want to make sure that everybody's happily open and spread out a little bit so nothing is too big and it looks balanced. That looks pretty good actually. That might be a little wide before I do some point gluing. Maybe that could be a little wider, a little wider. There we go. Okay, so this is the wrong side again. You can see my adhesive here. Okay, and I'm going to do some point gluing. I've already done some of the original points. I'm just going to go back now and dot glue on the remaining points that I haven't done. And it's okay if I go over the ones that I did before if I can't see them. And then I'm going to dot right where these guys touch each other as well, because we want to give them some stability because we're going to be adding on. And we don't, because we're putting this on a page, we really don't have to go this far and do this much work, but we might as well be building our mandala the way you should in case you ever want to do one again for some other project. We want to make sure that it's going to be nice and sturdy, that it can actually, this, after it dries, you can actually hang it. You don't even need to have a background for it. It could just hang and be a window catcher or something. Flip the back over to the good side. And there we are. Very pretty. Okay, so now we are going to move that out of the way, and we're going to build on these guys. I'm not going to worry about the seam right now. Well, maybe I should. It's just that these have created their own sort of shape that I really like, and I don't really want to fight that. So I'm going to leave the seam all on its own. I'm not going to worry about the seam being at the tip here. I want to build something inside here. So I'm going to take my turquoise paper and flatten it out. And I think I also want to take my light blue, because there's a bit of a difference. Or do I want to take my dark blue and my light blue? I think I'll take my dark blue and my light blue. And I'm going to flatten these guys out, because that's how they go through my cutter better. And I'm going to build a little thing happening in here. So I want to start with, I'm going to have maybe 3, maybe 5 of these and 2 of these. So let's see, where's my cutter? So let's get those cut. So I'm going to take ooh, that's a 1/4 inch. Don't want a 1/4 inch. I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. Uh-oh. Oh, there's one. 5. Okay, and I'm just going to put that aside for now. And I'm going to cut 2 of these guys. 1 and whoops, make sure it gets on the line. 2. Alrighty. And I'm going to have to do this for each of the 8 pieces, but let's just play with this for now. So my 2 little ones, I want to come out, and I want 3 on the top, 3 on the top, and I want 2 of the other blue, and then 2 on the bottom. So what we're going to do here is we're going to build inside our big piece. We're going to build these little pieces, but I want to roll the top of them. So I'm going to take each piece, put a little bit of glue around the outside, and I'm only going to roll about halfway. So there we go. That's about halfway. Okay, so now I've got to put some glue under there, and it's creating this natural little buckle, which is what I want for the bottom there. So these guys are about halfway. The 2 bottom ones, that is. So I'm just going to let that kind of set. Really want to get that more circular looking. Hold it for a second. And there it is. Okay, there's our piece. And remember, it's got white on it now, but when it dries, it won't have the white. So now I'm going to do another one. So I'm now going to glue these guys in at the tip. Okay, that's a lot of glue, so I can share that between the two. And they are going to go down in here at the tip. So I want to get that right into the corner there. There we go. And now they're going to open up. So now I'm going to do the same to this. Okay. And that's going to go in there. Whoops, the other way around, of course. Or maybe we'll put it this way, because then that's more natural. It feels more natural. So there we go. Okay, so I'm actually going to glue these together as one piece, because I have to know that I can get these three in here. So I've got to make sure that when I glue these guys, that they are going to provide the space I need for the other three. So 1, 2, and 3. Yep. So that'll be fine. So I'm just going to get those, let those dry for a minute, and then that's going to force this open. And we're going to do the same thing to these guys. All right, so there's our components. And of course, you can certainly go big on these. You don't have to go skimpy and small. So I need a bit of glue on the sides. Whoops. And they are going to fit right inside there. Making sure everything is flat. There we go. And you can see how our thing is turning out here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wait a minute. Do I have my 8? 2, 4, 6, 8. I have my 8. I don't know. Alrighty, now one of these may be a little longer than the other, so I think I'm going to put that one in the center. Oh, you know what I did? I didn't need to roll that one. Let me cut one more. The one in the center doesn't get rolled, really. I'll show you what happens to it. It gets folded. Whoops, there we go. So we want this guy to be folded in on itself. So we're going to take the inside and push it down. Too far. So it's like a heart. You know, this is stiff. I'm going to break the stiffness down a little bit so it's easier to play with just by wiggling it a little bit. All right, there we go. That's better. So there's the tip. We're going to roll this down. No, it's still stiff. There we go. Roll this down just a little bit. It's not giving me what I want. There we go. Alrighty. We can play with this a little bit. So basically you're going to fold it in half. Okay. You're going to glue on there just a little bit. Alrighty, so we've glued this down, and now I am just going to open up the top edge a little bit, and I want to glue here and here, so this becomes like a little bubble or a little circle. So I think I'm just going to take some glue with my little tool here. Let's put some glue on my mat. Just take a little bit of glue on my tool, and I'm going to go inside, and then I'm going to close that. There we go. Do the same thing on the other side in about the same location. And then also in the center. So all that sticks together, and then we're going to open the top. All right. So now the top gets opened like this. Okay, and you have this little strip that's going to go right down the center. All right. Oops. So we need a little bit of glue at the bottom edge here. That's going to go right into the center. And we can play with this a little more. There we go. Okay. And then we're going to take one of these guys, glue the bottoms a little on the side, and he's going to go on this side. And then this one, same thing, little on the bottom, little on the side, and he's going to go on this side. There we go. Okay. And now we're just going to put a tiny bit of glue at the top edge on those two pieces. Not too much glue. Just a little. And we're going to tighten up around our pieces. Oop. Gotta make sure you have it. Really just it's just a matter of holding it for a second. Make sure the glue sets. Doesn't seem to be setting. Got too much glue on the top of this one. Okay. Nope, doesn't want to stay on that one side. So I'm going to do a little more glue. I'm going to pull it tight, but I'm going to stretch it out afterwards. Alrighty. This is a bit of the boring part. And while I'm holding it, I can do those points. And just flatten it all out. Too much there. There we go. All right. And there is our piece. And we can open this up just a little bit more. So now this is going to stick into there, like that. So I'll do one more. Where is it sticking? So I'm going to put some glue here, some glue there, and then this is going to stick right in there. There we go. Okay, so now I have 3 of them. I can show you what my next step is. My next step is going to be to take some green, and I'm going to open up the green like I did with the purple. So we're just going to take that apart. So I'm just ripping my green apart. Not really concerned about the surface of the card. So I'm just going to take it all apart. And you can see it's all mangled and everything else, but like I said, you don't see it in the finished product. So I'm going to cut these 5 inches as well, like I did with the purple. So let me grab that. So let's get a nice smooth side to do the cutting. 5 inches. Just like that. There we go. And this time I am going to, I'm going to seal that strip this way so we have a larger surface to play with. So let me put some tape on there. So I'm just going to move this over so you can see what I'm doing here. So I'm going to put some tape along there. Again, once I find where I put my tape, there we go. I'm going to do it on the inside of here, I think. Oh, wrong side. Wah. On the inside of here. There we go. Okay. Then I'm just going to fold that over. So I'm just folding that over, sealing that up, and now I have my tube. And I'm going to keep that if I need more. So now I'm going to fold it along that line so I can do my cuts. And I'm going to do 8 of these. No, actually I'm going to do 16 of these. 1, okay, so now we're going to have something come up in here, and we have to shorten one side of the fold. So we're going to fold it along there so that it shapes itself more. There we go. More like a leaf. So it's open and longer on one side. And you want to make sure that it's going to be the same on the other side. So let me bring this nice and close. Bring this up. And we're going to actually do this first. And see, that's the end. That's why it's causing a problem. Okay, so I'm going to put this in the end first. So I've got some glue right on there, and I'm putting it inside there right off the bat. I'm going to get my other one and I'm going to find the seam, which is right there. And this is a bit rough, so I'm just going to trim on either side of that. It's just my cutting was crummy, and I'm going to stick that in there. There we go. So we have those two pieces coming out of there. And now I want it to come along here and here and break like a petal would break. So it's going to be slightly, actually maybe if I do that. Okay, so I'm gonna do this first. So I'm folding this completely and attaching it. Actually, I'm going to put a little on the outside edge and fold it almost like I would fold an antenna for a butterfly, if you know what I mean by that. So let's just hold that for a minute. Make sure that that is stuck on the back as well. Okay, and then I'm going to take this one, and on the outer edge I'm going to put some adhesive, attach it about the same location on the other side, make sure everything is flat. looking about the same. Actually, that needs a little more adhesive. There we go. So it's about the same. Okay. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And if you had all of these guys all the way around, you could just do that first step for all of them. And then we're just going to strengthen that on the back with a dollop of glue, like we always do. And flatten that out, because we don't want any of that sticking up when we're trying to keep things nice and flat. There we go. All right, flipping it over, that'll go clear, so I'm not worried about that. All right, so now we are going to open this up. So we are going to bring the inside line right along the edge of that orange so that it fits nice and tight and creates sort of an S situation. And again, the easiest way to do that is put a little bit onto my sticker thing, my pokey tool, whatever you want to call it, and then we just bring this along there and hold it. There we go. And it just takes a minute. And now we have the nice little S thing happening here. And now I'm going to do the same for this. So I'm going to get a little bit of glue. Just run it on the inside edge of that flower. And then I'm going to push the paper along that edge. Make sure it goes right up to the top there to create that S shape. And then once you've got it stuck, you can just hold it with your finger for a minute. There we go. So now we have this nice little S shape happening. I'm going to do the same on this side. So what you kind of end up with is this little interesting little shape in there. Okay, and now I'm going to put a couple of things. So I'm going to get one of these guys and I'm going to loosely roll it. Really loosely roll it. To create, I want it a little more rolled than that. There we go. That's what I want. So I want a big one of the things that I was making before, and I'm going to stick it inside that spot right there, right down at the bottom edge. So that's basically what's going to happen. So let me just put a tiny bit of glue on here for rolling purposes. so I can get that sticking together nicely. And then I'm going to have some glue here, and just going to poke inside there and put a tiny little glue there. Tiny, 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 Chris. Okay. And there we have our little turned glue. Okay, and now I'm going to get some glue on the end here. Oh, there we go. A little too much glue. And I'm going to go in the opposite direction, like the bellies are out on the right hand side. I'm going to flip this one over and put the belly out on the left hand side. Well, maybe no. Now that I'm looking at it, I think I might like it to follow that line. There we go. So sticking it right up in that spot. Okay, and now I'm going to put a tiny little bit of glue here with the tip of my pokey tool. And this is going to get pushed into there. Okay. All right. There we go. So we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And there we go. We have our greenery in here. So I'll do it one more time, and then we'll be on our own to finish off our purples and our blues and our greens. And there you have it. Now, I think I might want to put something in here. And I'm just wondering if, I don't know where my little orange or pink, that's what went flying into the garbage. I have a little pink one of these that I might just stick in there and there, just to add some colors. So I do have my pink guy here, but I want to make him a little bit bigger. So I'm going to add another round of pink on there. So let's cut that. And just going to glue this to the other one and run it along. So just where I left off there. And put a little bit of stuff in here, just so it sticks. Make it a little bigger than just a single circle. There we go, that's a nice size. Squish it down, make sure it's all nice and flat. And then I can either put it right there to close up that gap a little, Or I can put it all the way over there. No, I think I want to put it down here to close up that little gap. So that's what I'm going to do. So now I'm going to have some glue here and some glue there. Whoops, a little too much glue there. And I'm just going to move this guy into that location. Push on it from either side. Take the excess off with my finger. And there I have a little pink. So I'm going to do that. So I'm going to need 2 in each one. So I'm going to need 2, 4, 6 more to finish this side so you can see what I'm doing. I'm just going to push these together right now till they hold, and then the whole thing opens up. So there you go. Look at how pretty that is. Okay. So I think I am going to do a little bit of something here with some red and light blue and maybe some dark green again. Let me see what I'm going to do. Okay, so we're taking the light blue apart. I'm just opening it up. Shouldn't have had to put them all together now that I'm playing with different sizes. Okay, we're going to cut 5 inches like we did for last time. Not really worried with how mangled the paper is. So we're going to cut 5 inches. Alrighty. Put to the side. And I'm going to glue across the top edge, or not glue, but tape across the top edge, because that's the quickest and easiest way to do things. So I'm just doing that off camera, but I'll show you. There you go. All right, pulling this end off. And I have so much glue on my fingers right now that I can't pull it off. There we go. Got a little extra there, so I'm just going to fold that back. And now, I'm going to go this way and line it up at the top edge there and line it up at the bottom edge so I get a nice tube. There's my tube. Got some extra stuff happening here I don't need. And again, I don't care what the tube looks like because it's the edges that I want, right? Okay, so now I'm going to cut. So that would have been 1 piece. So I'm going to cut 3 pieces so I can do these 3, but you would cut as many as you need, obviously. And I'm just going to take that fold and fold it a little bit better so that when I cut, I don't get such resistance. There we go, 1. This one here got very hairy at the edge. So I'm just going to trim that off and just making that look a little better in this one as well. There, just clean it up a little. Okay, we're going to put a dot of glue in the center. And again, I stood my glue up. Just a small dot. We don't want a lot because your fingers get really gluey when you're doing this technique. Okay, there we go. And then we are going to start from the center and roll one way. So a little bit of glue there to help with that roll. Okay, and now we're going to roll so that the two go in the same direction. Oops. So now they're going in the same direction. Okay, a little bit of glue there to roll. Now they're going spread apart again. Oh, it's this one that needs to go around. You want it to be as centered as possible. And now they're going in the same direction, so you have to take turns on the rolls. And now this is going in the opposite direction. So just check my size. I can probably do a half roll each. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue there. Probably need a little more. I'm going to roll up. I'm not going to go right over. And I'm going to roll up on this one as well. So these are half rolls, I guess you would call them. Just straighten out the edges, and that should fit in there. There we go. I like it. So we're going to stick our tips into some glue again on both ends. And we are going to make sure that they go right in. The most important one is the top one because it's the one that is a single layer. Okay, and then you have the bottom one. And so now you have your super light blue design in the tip. And that finishes that. So I'm going to do 2 more of those, and I'm going to take a look at it and see if I want to stop there. I think that doing an entire page at this size might have been a bit of a dream, because I think 5 to 10 inch pieces would have been better for a larger page, where we started off with 3 to 5 inch. So the size of your tube makes a difference in what you come up with. So I think we're going to stick with 1 for the time being and create a layout with the 1. Okay, we're back with our finished piece. So as you can see, it's that 1/8 inch thick finished piece on either side. So now we're going to figure out how we want to lay this out on our page. And I'm going to grab my, whoops, so I just dumped one of my boxes full of paper. There we go. Okay, so now I really want to do a 5 by 7 on this. So take my 5x7 card, and I think I'm just going to, for the purposes of being able to see it, I'm just going to take a pencil and run the pencil along the edge so you can see, because it's white on white. Just want to give it a little something so you can see it. There, that's a little better. Now you can see where it's going. Okay, so I want to do a couple of things here. I've got the 5x7. I likely will do a portrait. Yes, a portrait with this. I'm thinking one page. I want this to go maybe 1/4 of an inch from the top and the side, because when you get it in the page protector, you don't want to be putting too much pressure on these corners. This is going to be popped up, obviously. It'll lie flat on the design. And even at this point, if you wanted to take out a section, you could pop your picture there and then have another section coming out on down here, which actually I think I might do. So I would want to take out a full section. So I'm going to take out this section right here and use that. So here we go. Just trimming down. Into the center. Okay. And trimming down here. Just cutting it right like you would cut paper. There we go. Now this little section I'm not going to bother with, because this is going to come off the page at the bottom like that. So now I just want to make sure that I stick that back up there when I get this all glued down. So first of all, let's glue this puppy down, and the easiest way to glue it down is just to put dots of glue on where the little circles are, because those are the parts that I got the cap in my mouth. Those are the parts that you'll be able to put some pressure on. And just random dots. Don't forget, this is going in an album, so it's not going to end up being too much. A little bit around there. Alrighty, and we're going to flip this over. We're going to need to have our 1/4 inch from the top, and we want to make sure that it's on an angle where our 5x7 is going to cover the part that we took out. There we go. So I'm going to, there we go. And that's going to be awesome. Just make sure I cover that. Maybe I will do a 5x7. I don't know. Anyway, so that's where we're at this point. This I'm just going to tuck in there because it's going to go underneath. And this guy is going to go down here. So I am making sure I got the right side. Yep. Again, just going to put some dots where those little circles are, because they're nice and strong, and maybe a little along the edge here where these guys attach, and we'll see where we're at. There we go. And that comes out from the bottom. So we have this one on the top and this one coming out from the bottom. Sorry, I've got something in the way there. There we go. And then our 5x7 is going to go nicely in between the two pieces, like that, pop dotted. So let me just put a pop dot on there. Now, you would obviously not pop dot it until you have the proper photo. And I don't even think I would mat the photo, because I think it would be nice just to stick it right on the paper. I can't find, okay, that's mixed white, but that's thin. Sorry, having problems finding my thick stuff. There we go. Okay, so I'm just gonna, for the intents and purposes, I'm just gonna put a pop dot down here on each of the three corners so you can see how it's going to pop up along the edge. And then the idea being that you would glue this right to the surface of the mat. Okay, so there we go. We're popped up. Pretend we're glued there. Okay, and now I just want to add a tiny bit of greenery. So I have lots of stuff left over, and I am just going to literally cut along the long edge of this to get a couple of strips out of this dark green. Whoops. So I can just have a little bit of vine work finishing off this layout. So how I do that is I stick this, make sure I've got it folded nice and neatly. I'm just going to take off a smidgen of it to get it going. And now I can open it up and do my 1/8 inches from this side, because it's straighter. There we go, nice long pieces. There we go, there's one. Just take a couple of these, don't know how many I'll actually use. Make sure I'm not making them too thick. 2, maybe I'll take 3 for now, and we can see where we're going after that. Alrighty, there we go. So again, bringing you down here, I'm going to do some work on the page with this. So I always like to start with the curl, and we've done curls before, so I'm just going to fold this over, put a little bit of stuff on there, start my circle, and I'm just going to put a little bit of white glue along here. There we go. And I'm just going to start turning this around. Till we get sort of a circular thing happening. We've done this before, earlier in the project. This just gives us a place to start from. There we go. So there's my curl on that end. I'm going to do a curl in the opposite direction on the other end, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do with the other pieces. to stick down. Put a little glue here. Don't need too much. Rolling it in place. There we go. Hold it together. There we go. Now, we can sort of do an S shape with this. And I'm just kind of running it in my finger like that. So we're getting a little bit of an S shape coming off. Actually, I think I'll switch them out. Nope. Switch them that way. There we go. And I think I'm just going to take some glue, pop this down in the open section that is here. Hold it for a minute. There we go. And then put a dab just on the edge here. Want a nice tight circly thing happening, and then the dab on the bottom of this part. There we go. And I need to keep it away, like I said, from that corner. Now we're going to fill this in a bit so it won't crush. And I think I'm just going to do a really loose circular bit that I can pinch into a leaf. So let's see. We're going to start maybe open that much. And then I'm just going to keep going around and gluing at the bottom corner. So, and I'm just going to get bigger as I go. So I'm going to leave a little bit more space and glue at the corner here. A little bit of a pinch. Oops, a bit too much. And glue at the corner there. So I'm doing consecutive, more open leafy type things. Making sure that that's sticking at the bottom. Make another ring, a little bit larger. And you see how I'm getting bigger and bigger? And then this one I'm going to trim. But I'm going to make sure it's all stuck down first. Hold it for a minute. And then trim that. And then I'm going to glue that little piece in there. Whoopsie. There we go. And just to make sure everything is shoved down, I'm going to get my little tool that I've been using to shove everything together, and I'm just going to push and just make sure that that all sticks down. Okay. So I'm going to put one first here because I want to make this a little bit more less able to crush. If we had our edge of our paper and we put it into what do you call it? Oops, shouldn't have thrown that out. Oh well. A page protector, it could easily just get crushed over. So this is why we're kind of beefing it up with the leaf. And we're just going to run a little bit of glue here and a tiny bit of glue on the back, and we're going to push that into the corner and hold it for a minute so it's nice and secure. Alrighty, so there's our one leaf, and then we're going to do another leaf here with the other piece that we took. Sorry, my glue is really getting low. But you know what it's like, you can't just stop using it. Got to use it all up. Okay, again I'm making that little sort of loopy thing happening there. And get some more glue there. I'm going to put two close together to have a little bit of stability in there. And then we just keep adding to the bottom and opening it up. And this time I think I'm going to do the loops much larger, so we get in the end a bigger looking leaf. Sorry, I'm having some awkwardness here. There we go. This is folded, so all I have to do is make sure that I round it, and then I'm going to bring this down to there and fold it over. So we have a bigger leaf on the inside. Give it a sec to secure. And I'm just going to trim that a little bit because I don't need that much. Put a little bit of glue in there so it sits nice and flat. And then this can go on the inside. Very simply, like that. Maybe I'll even pull it a little bit down further. There we go. And this we can pull away a little bit from the edge. I know what I forgot to do. Put a few dots. There we go, like that. Okay. And now you can add your gemstones and everything in between, which we'll maybe do before, or I'll do and leave as the image that you see at the beginning of the video. So here's how we're going, the direction we're going in. Okay, so I'm going to do another one coming out here at this end. I want to leave some space for a title, some space for journaling. So I'm going to take 3 more pieces. 3 more pieces. 1. I'm just cutting this off screen because I have my camera pointed in a different direction than usual. Two and 3. I actually like this process. It's very therapeutic. Some might be annoyed by it, but anyway, for me as a fussy cutter, I like doing this as well because it's very creative and you get some really great looking effects. So we're gonna roll up our little, we're rolling up our little balls at the end, and putting a little bit of glue here, maybe about an inch worth of glue, maybe just over an inch. Rolling it like we did the little stuff we did here, all of our rolls. This is a much larger piece of paper, so it's a little fussier, but as long as you keep your hand on it. And there you have your little roll, and it'll tell you where the glue stopped because it will unroll itself. And hold it. Okay, there's one end. Go in the opposite direction at the other end. There we go. About an inch worth of glue. Rolling it up. Yeah, it gets all over your fingers. And then I make sure I get the glue off my fingers before I try to flatten it out, because you don't want that icky gluey stuff to sit there. There, so we have, how did I do that? I managed to put them both on the same side. Okay, you want to make sure you try to get them on opposite sides. It looks better in an S when you do that. So we're going to curve, just using our finger, and curve. We're going to do a little bit of a tighter curve for this one because we have a smaller space to work in. And I'm going to stick this guy in here, anchor it down. There we go. Hold it for a second so that it gets anchored. And then I'm going to stretch this guy out. I can pretend that he's on the other side by simply putting some glue and folding him back. And you have to do that. Make sure that everything is glued up there to make that work. Now it's going to look like it's on the other side. It's a miracle. And a little bit of glue right here just to play around. There we go. So I want this to come down like this. Give that 1/4 inch from the edge, because you need to have that space. I have it touching my photo. You don't have to have it touching your photo. It's up to you. You can stretch it out further if you want and bring it up here. There we go. Make sure it's all stuck down. Alrighty. And because this is a smaller space, I'm going to make my leaves tighter. So I'm going to make my first leaf that small, and a little more glue in there. There we go. And I'm just going to give it a smidge more space and make these ones nice and tight so they're nice and tightly stuck together. There we go. And again, a little too much glue. See how I'm making the very tight on this one? So the tightness and the looseness is all up to you. So you can make tight little leaf shapes or loose little leaf shapes. It's all up to you. So these ones are going to be darker because they're going to be tighter, and smaller because they're going to be tighter. Whoops, just a little too much glue there. Once you glue it, you can flatten them out and make them wider or narrower. That's another choice you have. Just want to make sure that gets up in there. There we go. Okay. There we go. And then there we go. And I'll show you how to take the crinks out of that. And this, I think, is just going to end right. If I'm lucky, it's going to end. Oh, I'm not lucky. So I'm going to put the glue a little higher and just have that end right there. Okay, so there's my very tight little leaf. Take some of the fuzzy stuff from all the excess glue off there. And then I'm just going to take, I'm going to hold it from the bottom, and I'm just going to take my little pointy thing and round it out. Play with the round, if you can get it in there. There we go. Alrighty. So I'm going to put some glue here at the bottom and a little bit just everywhere else. And on this edge that's going to go into the curve. There you go. So there's one little leaf, and then I'll do another one for here. So I won't have you watch that because you've seen me do it several times. You've seen me do it loose and tight. There we go. This is looking a bit pokey. There we go, making that look a little bit less rigid. All right, so I'm going to do this one off screen and we'll be back in a moment. Okay, so I have these titles that I think kind of go in with the bright colors that we have, and I think I like real life, but I think that that might not really fit into the colorway. It's not really coordinating with that. I kind of like this idea of Sweet Adventures, but it might be too pale for up there. Sweet Adventures, oh maybe not. Sweet Adventures. Sweet Adventures. I think I like that, so I'm going to use that. Just make sure. I could do Smile. Don't really want to do Smile. Okay, so we are going to do Sweet Adventures. So I'm going to get my bottom on there first because it's the biggest one. And it's going to fit right in there. And I want to make sure it's sort of aligned. Okay, There we go. And Sweet is just going to go right on top, right there. Sweet Adventures, whoops. And I'm going to even take the little golden heart that was there and put that there. And down here, I am going to put, I could do Perfect Day, or I could put So Wonderful. So Wonderful. Or I could, no, that's too big. Was there a fun on here? So much fun. Actually, I think I'll put 3 little things down there. And I'm going to put Such a Good Day here. Make sure that I have that lined up more or less with the bottom of the page. Oop. There we go. And then I want 2 more. Let's see. Excuse me. I'm going to put Family Time, because likely this will be a family photo. Pardon me. Making sure it aligns with that edge. There we go. Family Time. And oh my goodness, I have allergies, so there we go. Reason to celebrate. Alrighty, and that can go back in its bag. Oh, sticky, sticky, sticky. Alrighty, so we're getting there. I'm just going to pull this out so you can see the whole layout now. Okay, and now I just want to put on some doodads, a little bit of sparkle. Something that will coordinate with all the colors. I could put little tiny diamonds. I've got these sparkly ones. Got sparkly pearls. Let's see. I don't have any purple. Ooh. Those are a little bit bigger than I want. I love these things. They're my fave. Those are cute. You know what? I'm going to go with the small stuff. So I don't want just plain white. I think I'm going to go with these multicolored gems. I've already opened this pack, which is the same thing. So I just hang them on a little, the ones that I work with frequently, I just hang on, oh, this one's open. I just hang on a circular, what do you call that, a binder clip, and I hang it on a push pin on my wall. And that's easy. So they're accessible whenever I want them. Alrighty. So I just want a little bit of pop in the middle of things. So I'm gonna get my pickup tool. Oh, I'm gonna get my tweezers. They're a little easier. So I got these hot pink which I want to put in the middle of my dots, or my circles up there. There we go. Oops. So I'm going to put this all together and I will show you the finished blinged up project in just a moment. Okay, this is the finished project. I'm just going to show you all the different things I've got going on there. So I've got the colored sparkles on these elements, and then I've just added some twinkly sparkly bits around the outside to sort of continue the pattern. And then I've done the same down here and along the edge. So this is our finished layout. And let me see if I can straighten up that camera a little. And there you go. Our finished layout. Oops, it's crooked. There we go. Okay. So that is it, folks. I hope that you enjoyed learning about this technique. If it's not up your alley, I completely understand. It is a bit of a challenge, and you want to be prepared for that challenge. But you can see that, you know, using up pieces of paper in small strips that are even smaller than the strips that we use in our what do you call it, our strip layouts, you can do something different with them. You can look at them on the side instead of on the flat. So until next Thursday, see you later.